what's going on, Los Angeles? What is up? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LA Football Network, live on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio. Thank you all for making us a part of your day as always, and for joining us on the Rams Skinny here. If you're on YouTube, make sure to please hit that like and subscribe button. Certainly helps us out a lot. If you're on the website, LAFBnetwork.com, thank you for hanging out there. Podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you are, hit that subscribe button. And if you're on radio, thanks as always for turning that dial to 1090 and listening to the two Ryans talking Rams on your commute. And speaking of the two Ryans, we are a full country apart from sea to signing sea tonight, separated by the vast lands of this great country. My main man, Ryan the Skinny T. Anderson, down in LA. I am east side. 3-hour time difference is still getting me all weird. Game times here start so late, but I'm in Baltimore for a quick trip visiting family. So, but hey, the beauty of technology, we can do this and talk about our beloved Rams. But Skinny T, my man, how we doing?
Ryan, I am like a kid on Christmas morning. Literally, I've got wrapping paper and boxes here because I'm sure our podcast listeners can tell by the sound of my voice is I got a new microphone for Christmas from Ryan Dyrud himself, and I'm super excited. So hopefully my dulcet tones are a little bit more, even more dulcet than normal coming at you. So yeah, fantastic. How's the weather out there? It's beautiful in LA, of course, but how's Baltimore?
It's cold, sunny, but cold. Well, now it's dark since it's already 7:00 here or whatever. But no, it's like a balmy 28 degrees, I think it was today or something like that. But it's kind of, I joke because everyone we've met, they're like, oh, where are you from in LA? And everyone talks about the weather immediately. And I'm always like, yeah, but it's nice to get like a week of cold weather, bundle up, put the scarf on, put the beanie on, wear your nice pea coat, cruise around outside. And then, after a week, then I like to get back to the nice LA weather. But I'm hoping we get some snow. We're actually going to New York City tomorrow. And then in 3 days, we're going to go out to Denver to see my folks before coming back to LA Christmas Eve. So hopefully we get some snow on this trip. We'll see. But how is it? Is it nice and warm, or is it like an LA winter right now?
It's an LA winter day for sure. There's definitely a chill in the air. Wore my padded running jacket this morning on my jog. Ooh. So had to, and a beanie. So it's beanie season in LA. Okay. I guess.
Yeah. Busted that out, the padded jacket. I saw some. We were at a store today, and I saw some heated slippers. Never seen that before. Seems a bit unsafe, but also seems delightful. So there's something kind of nice. But anyway. Happy to be talking Rams football with you all. At the time of this recording, it's Thursday. The Chargers, our other LA team, kick off here in about an hour and a half, which is, I don't know how people do it out here, Skinny. Like, I don't know how you can start a game at 8:30 or last night we were hanging out and I was getting ready for bed at 10 o'clock. And that was when like the Kings puck dropped in LA. I was like 10 p.m. start time. Like, I don't know how people do it out here on the East Coast. We got to do it easy out there on West Coast times.
It's one of my favorite things about Sundays during football season is you wake up, you watch Meet the Press, maybe make a cup of coffee, and then it's football at 10 o'clock. And then, 8:30, the Sunday night game is over. So it's just a nice civilized way. You get to bed and, ready for work on Monday morning. So it's literally one of my favorite things about living in California. I've been out here since 2008. So, yeah. I'm definitely a California now, but better than the Central Time kickoff of noon for sure.
Yeah. And then the 1 for East. Yeah. We definitely have the best time zone. And, I'm guessing, Skinny, that probably 80% of our audience has no idea what Meet the Press is, but that's okay. Neither here nor there.
I'm just showing my old manness even more.
Hey, that's good. That's great. Yeah, you break out the newspaper. I'm sure you still get delivered to you every Sunday morning.
I subscribe to Sports Illustrated, not the newspaper, though.
Okay. So, yeah, you get that. Dude, I was at the airport the other day when I flew out here, and, that one of my favorite things growing up, and we'll get to Rams, I promise you, right after this, but one of my favorite things growing up was when you go to get on a plane, go to like the newsstand in the airport and like pick out like your magazine for the plane ride. Like I used to get like, what was it? The surfing mag. I used to get a skateboarding mag, and I would get like Sports Illustrated or like there was always a fantasy football magazine. I get like those 4, rotate between. And this press stand I went to at LAX Not a single sports newspaper. So I don't know if that was they didn't buy any or just all the old sports newspapers are just less and less and less and less and all digital now. But not one.
That's a real shame, because that's a great thing. You can, you get all, all that selection and yeah, it's just unfortunate that print has died in the way it has. And yeah, man, it really bums me out.
What's sad is I still bring a book every time I travel. So I got I just bought the new, Killer of the movie just came out.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon. I bought the book. I haven't seen the movie yet with Leo. Going to see that soon, but I bought the book, want to read it. And I always do this though. I bring a book with me on a trip, and then I end up reading a different book just on my phone because it ends up being too much of a hassle to get out of my bag on the plane. So I was reading Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights on my phone instead. But anyway, which is also a phenomenal book. Shout out Matthew McConaughey if you haven't read it yet. Green Lights, check that out.
All right.
There it is. Since we're sponsoring and doing free press anyway, real quickly, let's talk about Underdog Fantasy, our friends and sponsor of the Rams Skinny. Head to underdogfantasy.com or the Underdog Fantasy app on the Google Play or Apple App Store. Download, put in a deposit, minimum of $10. Use our promo code RAMS LAFB. That's all one word, RAMS LAFB. It's going to give you a welcome bonus deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $300 to play with. If you do it today, you have all the weekend's games to play with. You pick 2 to 5 players in the pick'em, choose the over/under, and that's how easy it is to win. It's a lot of fun, makes the less exciting games more interesting. It obviously everyone's interested in this Rams game, but hey, at a 6.5 point favorite, a Commanders team that is not fun to watch, it can make it even more enticing at Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code RAMSLFB. Tell them the guys at the Rams Skinny sent you. Do it. Helps us out too, and hopefully you can have some fun and win some money as well. Skinny, 6.5 point favorites. The 4-9 Commanders. Make sure I say their record correctly. 4-9 Commanders come to LA to face our 6-7 Rams, as we always do each show. 1,000-foot view. What are you looking for in this game, which is obviously a must-win? Not only because the Rams need it to keep their season alive and playoff hopes alive, but the Rams are frankly just a better football team. So they need to prove that and go out and kind of dominate. So what are you looking for in this one at the start?
Yeah, I think, you go back a couple of weeks to that Cardinals game. It should look a lot like that. I think you run up the score early, you settle it, and then you kind of rest on your laurels for the rest of the game and just take that W home in a nice, easy fashion. Last 2 weeks they're playing the number 1 and number 2 defenses in the league. This week, not so much the case. This is one of the worst defenses in the league right now. Obviously, they got rid of Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Can you believe
the defensive coordinator?
Yeah. And could you believe that they had Jared Allen and Montez Sweat and Chase Young on this team at one point? Wow. I mean, what a change in just a year, or in less than a season. Just incredible. So that's it's the easiest one to pick out because it's just run up the score in the first half and just maintain that lead. We want to see this defense play as good as they have been playing, the Rams defense, that is, throughout the rest of the year, because Washington can, well, I'll say that I was going to say put up some points, but they can move the ball around the field. They can move the chains and pick up yardage, but they haven't been able to score many points. But, Sam Howell's been putting up 300-yard games, 6-7 times this season. So, you just got to keep that in check. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, quickly back to the, Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Interesting moves. Like, I get they're not a good football team. I get that they're kind of in flux and need to kind of go into the mindset of a rebuild per se. But to me, trading those two assets tells me that they do not believe Sam Howell is their quarterback of the future, which, on the outside looking in, probably not a lot of people. But I know some people think he's played well. I think they've said they trust and believe in him. But I mean, why would you trade your cornerstone of the defensive line unless you needed ammo to make sure you get your new quarterback of the future of the draft? I get you need other pieces and other parts, and maybe I'm completely off on this, so please, I'll toss it back to you first. But to me, it's them saying like, yeah, we need to make sure we are going and doing everything we can to get the quarterback of the future. So we're going to free up cap space. We're going to get draft assets to do that. Because if it's Sam Howell, I mean, he's a cheap option right now. Why trade your two, not just your two best players, but arguably top 10 pass rushers in all of football?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. And you think about rebuilding teams. This is a rebuilding organization, new ownership. Yeah. They're probably going to have a new coach next season. We were talking about corrections, which I just realized I did make a mistake. I said Jared Allen rather than Jonathan Allen. So apologies to any Commanders fans out here, out there listening. They might even have a new name. They're gonna have a new coach.
Again.
They might have a new stadium coming out. Like this organization is just in flux right now. And we were talking before on our previous show, we flubbed the record of the Ravens, and Ravens fans weren't too all happy about that. This is an instance where I think this Commanders team wants fewer wins. They're gonna have they're gonna have a new stadium, new coach, new ownership. Maybe a shiny new Caleb Williams to go on there, or Drake May to go on that. So I think, there's going to be a lot of changes coming up for this team, and it needs to happen. They've been a bottom franchise for such a long time. So I think they're heading in the right direction. I wouldn't mind a name change. I like the Commodores. Just, you just got to change up a few of the few letters there. You can change it to the Commodores.
I still liked, like, when they were the football team. I know it was a joke at first, but if they would have really leaned into like the soccer mantra and just been like the Washington Football Club, like, I thought that was cool, and have the Sigma like that. They could be different from kind of all the NFL teams as being the nation's team. And I think after the joke in the first year of being the football team, everyone did kind of start to like it a little bit. It kind of rubbed off, and then Commanders isn't bad. I mean, it's not like definitely the worst professional sports team we've seen as of late. But yeah, I thought that was fun. But anyway, yeah, so much going on with them. It's such an interesting team as we kind of tie this back into, playing our Rams, because there's been that I can think of, and I'm kind of looking through their schedule too, but 3 games where they really just got absolutely blown out. 2 of them happened to be their last 2 against the Cowboys and Dolphins. And then one was all the way back in week 5 or 6 against Buffalo. But outside of that, for the most part, they've actually been very competitive and in most of their games, and battled and showed some resiliency. And so that's what I don't want to happen in this Rams one, because the Rams, similarly, 6-7, they've, all 7 losses outside of the Cowboys one that I can think of, they've pretty much been in all of them, been competitive. But all 6 of their wins, outside of maybe the 2 Cardinal ones, and correct me if I'm forgetting one, but have been pretty hard-fought games. So the other 4 wins, obviously the Browns one ended up bigger, but that was pretty close up until kind of they blew it open with 10 minutes remaining in the 4th. So for me, I don't want to see the Rams let Washington hang around all game. So going back to kind of big picture, and then we can dive in farther, but I don't want to see them let Washington kind of, go tit for tat with them and have it be this kind of hard-fought game, and it's going to take something happening deep in the 4th quarter for them to pull away. Like, this is a game now where if they want to continue that pedigree of being a playoff caliber team, which we both think they are, I know they're 6-7, but we believe this is a playoff caliber team, especially in the NFC, then I want to see them really put this game away early. And, obviously they're going to, Washington is still an NFL franchise. They're still going to do something. It's not like this is going to be a 48-0 game, but I'd love to see this at halftime to be comfortably in the Rams' hands. Not a great, it could be 21-7, but just, I don't want it to be like 13-10 or them losing, 14-13 or something. Like, I want them to have a, double-digit lead going into the half. That's kind of what I'm looking for, big picture.
Yeah, and there's a couple things at play at there. This is it has a makings of a trap game, just because of how emotional the last game was, how they lost, how hard they fought it. Maybe they're looking forward, maybe they're underestimating the Commanders as an opponent. And then you got the other side of that, which is, are you playing to the level of your competition?
Yeah.
Like you see it every year. Well, this team's, got so many wins, and then they just they're never able to really boat race a team. And so I think the coaching staff is better than that, but then you look at just kind of the inexperience that we've talked about all year, just young players. Are they ready for this kind of game? Are they ready to just kind of put the pedal to the metal and just let it fly, and not play down to this team? So those are just kind of a little deeper thoughts on that. Do you think it could be trap game, or do you think the playoff run is going to keep them focused enough?
Oh, I think it's definitely has the makings of a trap game for sure. I think we'll give our predictions later. I think they'll get the job done, but yeah, I mean, you alluded to it, right? Like when you're a young team that's hungry, like you get up for the big games. Like you're like, okay, we're playing the Niners. This is rivalry. We're playing whoever it may be. Like we'll get up. We played the Ravens last week. Like this is a big game in Baltimore on the road against a 10-3 football team, or 9-3 at the time. But this is a game like, okay, we come off a tough loss. We still got playoff hopes, but whatever. It's the 4-9 Commanders. Like this could totally be a trap game if for the inexperience of these young players. So it's going to take your veteran leadership of Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald and Ernest Jones now and Jordan Fuller to really keep these guys like, hey, we need to treat every game the same. Like every game is a get-up game, especially now this season, as every game is kind of a must-win if we truly want to make the playoffs, sitting here with 7 losses. And B, this is how the NFL is. I mean, it's not college anymore where you get an Alabama gets to play a terrible, Chattanooga State in November. Like that doesn't happen in the pros. Yeah, the Commanders right now might be the Chattanooga State of the NFL, but I can tell you they're a hell of a lot better than Chattanooga State in terms of 5-star prospects, because even if you trade your 2+ players, you still have 4 stars right behind them in the NFL. And so you have to have that mentality week in and week out, getting up for every single game, or else you'll get your doors blown off by a Washington Commanders team. You'll embarrass yourself. So I believe this Rams team is too well coached to let that happen, but it's certainly with the inexperience and with the youth on this team, it's something to watch for. And if they start slow, Skinny T, like we've seen before, and they are close at halftime, that's where either I'm worried, or that's where we'll see the vets at halftime say, okay, guys, come on, time to pull your you-know-what out of you-know-where, and let's get this thing going.
Yeah. And, last week we saw Baltimore kind of change up their game plan, and we saw Lamar Jackson challenging that young secondary over and over again, throwing deep passes. One of the highest of his number of passes he's ever passed in his entire career, and going deep. I can see, I think of Sam Howell as kind of a diet Josh Allen kind of a player, where he's got some wheels. He can, he's a big dude that can do that, but he's also got a bit of an arm on him, and he's a bit more of a gunslinger, where he's willing to chuck it downfield a bit. And so if that kind of thing starts happening, and he's able to connect with some of his talented receivers, that's, we haven't mentioned that yet, but they have talent there. This talent hasn't reached its potential this season, but that's when the Rams can find themselves in trouble. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Kobie Turner and Aaron Donald up front are just on this fantastic few games where they just seem to be clicking and firing on all cylinders. But we've seen Byron Young kind of regress a bit. Still playing well, but he's not. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing the sacks and the production and the pressures that we saw earlier in the season. And Michael Hoyt is as good as Michael Hoyt is going to be, and that's another conversation that we've had several times, I guess. But
yeah.
But so I don't anticipate that happening, but there is that potential out there. And I think this team looked frisky earlier, and they just haven't lately. And they're able to put up those yards. And if they can convert yards into points, then they can turn this into an actual game. And maybe that's why they're only 6.5 point favorites, which I think is just incredible at home. 6.5 point favorites, and they're it's funny that they're only separated by 2 games, but like it just feels like they're going in opposite directions is what it is, I guess.
That's when you say it like that, that's weird. Yeah, they're only separated by 2 games. Like it just feels like this Rams team is so much better and trending on the up, and they're on the down. But yeah, the Rams are 6-7. I mean, they're like, in terms of record, not much better. Now, obviously, we believe they are a much better team. And I always likened Sam Howell to Baker Mayfield. That's like what I saw
That's
in
better.
terms of body size. Yeah. No, he definitely has some Josh Allen to him. You're right. But I just saw it mainly because they're both exactly 6'1". They're like the exact same weight. They like look the same, the way they like walk and strut. And Sam Howell has that kind of cockiness to him a little bit. But that's what you got to watch for, right? Is those Baker Mayfield type quarterbacks that can absolutely throw you out of a game, but they also are just gutsy enough, just cocky enough to make those plays where you're like, oh boy, here we go. Like they just made that play. Like that's the Sam Howell where he can have a game where he throws for 170 yards and 3 picks, and he can have a game where he throws for 380 and 4 touchdowns. And you're like, where did that come from? It's just that inconsistency, and that better not happen against this Rams team. I don't think it will happen. And so what I want to do now is get into a few key matchups quickly. If you're on radio, I know it was fast. I know you love listening to this show most during our LA football segment from 5 to 7, but we're out of time. We got to take a break. We'll have the Chargers guys on next, breaking down this Chargers and Raiders game that just took place Thursday night. So thanks for hanging out for us for the rest of the Rams skinny. Head over to lafootballnetwork.com or the Rams LAFB YouTube page. So final kind of thoughts here. Let's do a couple key matchups, and then we can do our score predictions. I thought our offensive line, the Rams offensive line overall played pretty well against Baltimore's stout front. Even with, you had to slide some guys in there. So what is obviously they don't have the premier guys anymore, Montez Sweat and Chase Young, but still have good players. I mean, that defensive front was so good with those two guys. That's why I just don't understand getting rid of those two. And I just don't really fully understand that, but that's a different story. So how do you feel about that matchup of the trenches? Since we're becoming a grit team, we're getting away from the glitz and glamour, becoming the grit of LA. So let's start with that. Your thoughts on the trenches matchup?
I think the offensive line has a rebound game. They've kind of, they struggled against, the best, so that's going to happen. They gave up lots of pressures, and I don't think that's going to be as big of an issue. I was digging around trying to figure out what it is that this Washington, there's always something that a team does exceptionally, even if they're not doing terribly well. And the one thing, and I'll phrase it like the key matchup that we should be, what you got to watch out for is, we're going to say the Rams offense against the third down defense. That's the key matchup we have to watch. You look at the Rams and it's like, really, they're the ones that can beat themselves in this game. That's the only way they're going to lose this game, is if they beat themselves. And third down has been suspect from time to time in this year, in the year. And if they can get them to that point, we see it with, delay of game calls and just drop passes and, silly play calling and, all sorts of things. So that's a key matchup to watch there. Is it on third down? Can the Commanders defense shut it, clamp down? And then, are the Rams going to make those kind of mistakes that they've been prone to this year?
Yeah, that'll be something to watch for sure, and we'll see how these offensive linemen respond, who overall I think played well this season, and if they can just keep that consistency and continuity up front, they've looked pretty good. So Matthew Stafford, we've talked a lot, has played great, I think, all year. The dude can just make every throw. He's fun to watch still at this age. Some of the throws he makes and some of the risks he takes, I think, are, in this season, it's worth taking. It's like, this is the season to try those and have some fun, and sometimes need it because of just the lack of I don't want to say lack of talent, but the lack of, playmakers in terms of number of years played, kind of say. So it's like, I just need to throw these guys open and let them go make a play afterwards. So aside from him, the great Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, obviously, Tutu Atwell, Kyren Williams, like, who of these playmakers are you hoping to see kind of have another great game? Is it a collection of all again, like we kind of saw against Baltimore, which was, I think Cooper Kupp obviously had his big coming out game again, which we talked about pregame. That was what we were hoping for. But overall, I think Puka Nacua still had 80 plus yards. Kyren Williams had 100 plus yards. So there was good. We saw Davis Allen kind of have his coming out party as a rookie tight end. So are you honing in on one guy again, or is this going to be another kind of collective unit type of game?
It's something that I've been saying kind of all year, is I want to see that. I just want to see a Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, just dominant performance where the two of them just kind of just, push people's faces in the dirt, metaphorically speaking, just dominate. That's what I would love to see, just because there's two such great receivers, and that would be such an interesting roadmap to see, like, just how great, going back to just having like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, when those two guys were just clicking like that. I'm interested to see, what another game with Demarcus Robinson is like if he plays. I'm not sure where Tutu Atwell is in the concussion protocol, but there's a longer diatribe about how McVay keeps all the same receivers on the field because he likes to move quickly, and then it's also like every play looks the same. And I kind of like Demarcus Robinson out there more because he's a little bit. I think he's just more. Well, he's more seasoned as a pass catcher and as a route runner, and So
I think it gives you more versatility too.
Yeah, exactly.
Size and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I want to see another solid game from Kyren Williams. Is this going to be the ground and pound team? The less glitzy and glamorous version of the Rams. So, I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I second all that. I love seeing Demarcus Robinson start getting more play. I hope that continues. We talked in the preseason about how he was kind of our dark horse receiver of like could really make some special things happen just based on his experience in, KC with Pat Mahomes and, consistently getting in that 400, 500 yard range, and early season just was not used at all. And even with Cooper Kupp out, it was like, okay, well, they have Demarcus Robinson. He still wasn't used at all. And that's, what obviously aided in Puka Nacua lighting the world on fire. But it's been nice seeing him now later, even with everyone kind of healthy at the receiver position anyway, getting more use and getting more targets for Matthew Stafford. And you can see the versatility now because a lot of people, us included, talked about how Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are similar in terms of, their route tree, similar in terms of if they're going to line up inside or outside, similar in terms of speed and all that stuff. We even talked at the draft when they drafted Nacua. I was like, oh, I love this pick. He reminds me of a poor man's Cooper Kupp in a way. And so Robinson was that different versatile receiver that gave them different options. And now we're seeing them utilize that. So the likens of those two guys, Demarcus Robinson and then Tutu Atwell as your true burner. I mean, they have a little bit of everything at all four of those spots, which I think is great. The one I want to see get utilized again, like I love seeing Davis Allen kind of have his coming out. Obviously had that one drop late in the game, but had the touchdown, 50 plus yards receiving. This offense in general, whether it's McVay's play calling, whether it's Stafford's, who he kind of leans on, but it's like they'll go to the tight end well for sometimes it feels like 3 or 4 plays on 2 possessions and then never look that way again. So I'd love to see a heavy dose of Davis Allen if he is kind of the main caller, depending on Higbee's health as we get closer to the game. But yeah, I think it was fun to see him get going, and it just adds another element to this offense. So against this Commanders team, that'd be a good one, I think, to see him get more run and get more experience with this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he struggled a bit in the blocking game in the first game, but it's his first game, so it will be nice to see kind of a second bite at the apple. It would be nice to see kind of another, like a lineage for that position as well, as we've talked about, as Tyler Higbee seems to be getting banged up and his play has been inconsistent, I guess is probably the best way to put that. So yeah, but this is the kind of game that you just want to see points get scored on the board and they move the ball just kind of with impunity, and you just spread it around and share the love, and everybody gets to take home a prize from this birthday party.
100%. Love that. So let's wrap up with the defense quickly. Anyone on defense, you're kind of, they do it, like you said, have some weapons. Terry McLaurin is, one of the best receivers in football. They've got some other speed guys out there. Their backfield can run the ball when needed. So who are you looking for on defense to kind of help shut this offense down and give this Rams hopefully a very substantial win?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the front line. Love to see just another Kobie Turner game. Even more so. Take the next step. beat out the old man, Aaron Donald, for a game, get more pressures than him. I think that would be fantastic to see. And I'll switch to the secondary and Derion Kendrick, who's, been picked on all season. People want to see him benched, and he keeps plugging away. He keeps being feisty. He keeps fighting and clawing and earning his playing time and keeping himself in there, whether he's the best guy out there or not. But, those that's the kind of guy that can get beat by Terry McLaurin,
Yeah.
So very experienced versus inexperienced, hothead versus, a guy that just kind of shows up every game, even though it hasn't looked like it so much this year. But yeah. So I think, those are my two guys.
Yeah, I agree. Those are two good ones. I'll go with Jordan Fuller, who I think is a great player in this league. We've talked about one of the great Rams, one of the great safeties. I've seen some people giving him some hate, like they want to see him go. I don't understand that at all. I mean, the dude has been a staple, I think, when he's healthy for this team. But last week against Baltimore was probably one of his, if not his worst game as a professional in the NFL, and had some tough tackling stuff. Obviously, the blown coverage on I think it was the OBJ touchdown where he jumped in on the route and got burned deep. Which I try not to criticize too much on certain plays because you don't know the play call and exactly what is asked of the player. But I think it's pretty safe to say you never ask your safety to jump a route and get burned deep. So that was probably on him, not the call. And it did not look good. So I want to see Jordan Fuller bounce back game, whether it's in coverage, whether it's in tackling, whether it's in run support, whether it's some blitz packages. I know he doesn't blitz very often, but if they do anything off the edge with the safety blitz, could be fun. So just a good rebound game from him. Obviously, he'll be tasked. You mentioned Derion Kendrick and Terry McLaurin, or whether it's Akhello Witherspoon on McLaurin. They're going to need safety help over the top with him, and Curtis Samuel as well as another speed guy. So obviously your safeties are your last line of defense. And so usually that is Jordan Fuller kind of playing that center fielder position. So making sure he doesn't jump any of those routes and let those guys get behind him. So love to see him get a pick in this game. I think that'd be amazing. Great bounce back, but he's kind of my defender I'm keying in on to have a hopefully a good performance, and one that the Rams need in order for them to, win this game.
Well, and I'll shout out one more guy, just because I didn't do it on a recap show for the Ravens, but I just loved how Ernest Jones played, but also how the Rams defense used him as a blitzer in some instances and rushing the quarterback rather than just kind of that, middle linebacker, general of the defense kind of way. He was just involved in so much. Obviously, led the team in tackles. I'm sure I could say that without a doubt, even checking the stat sheet. But just also kind of getting some play in other ways, and he had a lights out game. So I just love seeing him do well. So I'm rooting for him, and I just want to see him used that way as well.
Oh yeah, I mean that stunt blitz up the middle was so fun to watch, and we saw stuff like that with Brandon Staley, with like Troy Reeder, like doing some stunt blitzes. That game where Troy Reeder had like 3 sacks randomly, if you remember, back in 2020. And we haven't seen a ton of those middle backer.
That was against the command or the football team, wasn't it?
I think you might be right.
Yeah,
I think you're right actually. So there we go, perfect thing. Let's see Ernest Jones, a 3 sack game with stunt blitzes up the middle. Would love to see that. All right, let's get into score predictions. Unless there's any other players you want to touch on.
Nope, let's do it.
All right, score prediction. Both of you and I unfortunately had the Rams losing last week to the Ravens, which they did. We both had them covering, which they did. And you were so close as to 1 point off. I believe 37-31 was the final, and you had 37-32.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So let's see if we can get close again. What's your score prediction? Brought to you by BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag. Promo code BELIEVE gets you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Tell them the Ram Skinny sent you. What is your score prediction, my friend?
I like him going over 30 points yet again. 4th week in a row. I like that. So, they're not going to have to push it. I'm going to go 30. They score 31 points yet again. And the 6.5, I still think that's borderline slander, libel, whatever it is in print or in words. It's not going to be that close ever. And I think 17 points is the maximum they're going to score. That's what I'm going to go with. 31-17.
31-17. Like it. I was going to say the same thing. They've scored 30-plus points in 3 straight games, 2 of those being against the top 2 defenses in football. They're at home. I think they hit that 30-point again. I'm drinking a nice Mexican red out of a normal water glass because that's all we got here at the house. So on this nice Valle de Rojo, I'm going to say 38-14. Dominant performance. Rams get their big dominant win that we've been asking for. It's never close. They jump out from the get. They contain Washington and get back to 7-7 and look like the playoff team that they are. They smash the 6.5-point spread. Embarrassing. Come on, Vegas. What are we doing here? With that, for Skinny T, I'm Ryan Doward. This is the Rams Skinny Podcast on the LA Football Network. Thank you all, as always, for hanging out. We're loving seeing the growth of this show. Please, as I said before, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on the website, LAFBnetwork.com, thank you, as always, for checking us out. If you're not there, head there for all of our Rams coverage, not just this podcast. We got plenty of editorial and obviously all of our social stuff. And if you're on podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, just look up the Rams Skinny and hit that subscribe button as well. We appreciate it. Socials, LAFB Network are all the main ones, or Rams_LAFB if you want just Rams. We're easy to find. Ryan L. Anderson, LAFB. Ryan Dyer at LAFB. It's the LAFB family. It's the Christmas season. My friend, thank you for the time. Thank you for the expert analysis. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back after the weekend to recap what should be a big, big win for this Rams team. Everyone enjoy it. Be well, be safe. Enjoy the weekend. Talk to you all on Monday.